Welcome back, friends. It's important that when we are looking at our unique people, our unique person, when you're looking at yourself and you're evaluating where you are, where you've come from, where you're going, that you evaluate yourself based upon what is important to you. If you feel as though you're not ahead and you're not doing as well as someone else, then it's time to just sit down and say, okay, how do I want to make this go? How do I, want to set my intentions and set my goals? Sometimes when people are sitting around and they're upset about their own circumstances, they will focus on others and they will, let's say, throw someone else's business out there and say, oh, this person's not doing so well, this, that, and the other. But what about yourself? You see, we tend to look at other people and judge others, but not look at ourselves. On this channel, if certain information is placed out there, it is basically to help the authorities to understand who the individuals are sometimes. Because there are going to be times when we look at and we evaluate others' behaviors or what it is that another person has done or says. And while looking at that other individual, you have to know that we are all human beings having a life experience, trying to do better, I'm hoping, and trying to be better individuals. Using your intuition, sometimes you try to use your intuition. And like I said earlier, if you're not eating the right foods, your intuition is not going to be as strong because you're putting dirt in your body almost. You're putting garbage in your body. When we're trying to evaluate where we're going, we're looking at our mistakes and we're trying to grow. We're trying to persevere. A person can decide that they want to put, they want to look at you, right? And they put a camera on you and they evaluate what you're doing, what you've done. You've made certain mistakes and they'll focus on those things. Focus on your not so strong points. But karmically speaking, the same people who do this to you, when it's done to them, they're not exactly as comfortable with that, We're all, like I said, living a life experience and growing, trying to be our better selves. And there are going to be times where you're going to spill milk. You're going to have to clean that milk up. You're going to have to assess who you are and where you're going. When you're confident, that's a sexy thing. I mean, let's just be honest, When you see, when we look at our superheroes back in the day, okay, let's say you look at Clark Kent. He has some insecurities, but his strong point is that he's always putting his best foot forward. When we look at The Wiz, I use that example a lot because in The Wiz, now the original version, The Wizard of Oz, had a scary point to it. When I was a child, I was unable to watch the scary point because it was that area where the person was half of an insect, half a person, and then someone swatted and killed it, And that version of it was not, I didn't see myself in it. So when I look at The Wiz, I saw myself in it. I saw Diana Ross as a person. I saw that, Michael Jackson, all the other actors as people who she needed help and she felt that these were her friends. Growing up and looking at these examples helped me to say, okay, even the music builds you up. It allows you to see how things can actually unravel and how knowing that the truth is within you always. You can always learn and grow from these different examples, We are trying to become better individuals. And even with our mistakes, even with our flaws, okay, you lose something and, somebody says, okay, they lost this, or somebody steals something from you and they try to use it in an investigation, trying to frame a person. All these different examples of people trying to look at you and reevaluate you as being not a great person. This is life, okay? And on the scenes of life, people are going to have different examples. But with these different examples, with people making you look or feel a certain way, these are to make you stronger. in life we're going to have different experiences, appreciating moments as well as depreciating moments, where we feel, okay, I didn't do so well here, let me try to be better. You know, I went into a store and I could not find the receipt, but they put something on my item where, you know, it's going to ring everywhere I go. So I went to take it back, but I could not find the receipt. And they said, who's was the cashier? And I found the cashier and told them. And the cashier comes up, and I think she was afraid to get in trouble. So she said, you know, she didn't remember. And it was just the other day. How could you forget? Well, she had so many customers, of course. It might be easy for her to forget. But somehow the receipt was found. And I took it there and I said, you know, I need this off of my item. You know, they took it off, but it was just so much that you had to go through to get to this point. Now, of course, they took it off before I even presented the receipt, but sometimes people don't want to come to the surface to admit their wrongdoing because they're afraid that maybe their job might be, you know, in unstable or put in a bad situation. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. And while we're making these mistakes, we should not be so hard on ourselves, you know. I said once before, you know, people who do certain things, you know, I don't want them in my environment. Now, there's certain people, of course, they're not going to be allowed back in your environment if they did say things that were so awful that you cannot allow them back in. You know, especially if it was something that, you know, that dealt with your life, you know. Even in that case, I mean, I personally have my own views, and I try to put things in a certain way and try to organize myself in certain ways. And sometimes I fall short. I thought I was more organized yesterday than I was. But we are all getting to where we need to be. We're all growing. We're all persevering. We set goals, and realistic goals we set forth so that we can accomplish these things, you know. No one is perfect, but while we are growing, we are trying to get to a certain place. While we're trying to get to that specific place, let us not be so hard on ourselves, but at the same time, grow. There's always going to be someone who doesn't like you or is envious of you, and they'll talk about you because they have nothing better to do, or because they want to seem better than you. This doesn't always work because your real people around you know who you really are. And when they know who you are, it makes it hard for you to actually judge another individual when you know that you fall short as well. You know, I went to the service recently, and while in the service, you know, the minister was talking about how we need to get past certain things, and it's so true. We do need to get past certain things, and by getting past these things, we ought to be evaluating what it is that we're doing, how we're planning on becoming better. Because at the end of the day, we can look at everyone else around us and we can judge all those individuals. Now, if those people are your circle of friends and they're making the same mistakes, and you're going to make the same ones too because you're around that environment. You know, when you're separating yourself from others and you're trying to become better, in your own reevaluation, you have to look at yourself and say, okay, here I am, here is where I'd like to be, and here is where I'm going. You know, let us begin to really reevaluate where we are and how it is that we want to improve. Because at the end of the day, that is what we need to do. You know, my previous video on my other channel was talking about how we have people who try to steal your energy. They are feeling low, and you know, they kind of pull you down too. It's one thing when a person's feeling low and you're trying to lift them up, but even when you're trying to lift them up, if it is that they really need that time to themselves, which is in most cases, you need time to yourself, meditate, you know, read your, you know, whatever you need to uplift you. You know, friends are good for that too, but sometimes you need other help. And in that case, maybe getting, counseling or what have you. I'm just saying we're all adults here. We're growing. Some people who come to this channel, maybe they're not adults. I hope that they are watching the right things, because some of my content, most of my content is for adults. It's important that we just see where we are and try to figure out ways to reevaluate and improve our circumstances. In the end, that is what I'm saying. We could point fingers at other people all day long, but it's not going to help us, okay? So let us look at our life and try to figure out how we want to make change. Maybe we want to change our diet. Maybe we want to drink more water. Maybe we want to see where we are and write down the necessary information to set those necessary goals, because we're improving here, right? It is so lovely being you, and thank you so much for joining us. You can choose to give me a thumbs up or not. I noticed that people have not been giving as many thumbs up recently, and maybe they're just coming here to listen to my content. Enjoy.